The signal from the sky. It was a cold night in a small observatory outside the city. Dr. Mira Khan sat alone, drinking her third cup of coffee. The stars above were clear and quiet, like they had always been. But something changed at 3:17 a.m. A strange signal appeared on her computer screen. It was a soft beep, repeating every 6 seconds. Not a sound made by nature, not a sound made by machines. It was something else. She leaned forward and whispered, "What is this?" She quickly recorded the signal and ran it through her software. It wasn't random. It had a pattern, a message. She called her assistant, Raj, who was sleeping in the next room. "Come here now," she said, trying to stay calm. Raj looked at the screen and blinked. "Is this real?" Dr. Khan nodded slowly. "Yes, and it's not from Earth." The signal repeated again, this time louder. It had rhythm, like a heartbeat. They sent it to the National Space Center. Within an hour, it reached the top scientists, the military, and even the Prime Minister. A global alert was quietly sent out to world leaders. No media, no public panic, just silence. The message was translated after 5 days. The translation was simple but powerful. "We are dying. We need help." The world froze. Some people thought it was a trick. Others believed it was the greatest discovery in human history. The message was coming from a point near a dying star, 48 light years away. That meant the message was 48 years old. Whoever sent it might already be gone. Still, Earth had to decide. Should they answer? A secret meeting was held under the United Nations. Scientists, politicians, generals, all in one room. Many were afraid. What if this was a trap? What if humans invited danger? But one voice spoke louder than fear. It was an old astronaut, retired for 20 years. His name was Commander Lewis. He stood up and said, "If someone is calling for help and we turn our backs, then we don't deserve to be called human." The room went silent. Then slowly, one by one, the heads of nations agreed. "We will answer." A reply was sent. "We heard you. Come to us. You are not alone." Weeks passed. The world waited. Every telescope watched the sky. Every scientist listened to the stars. Months went by. Nothing. People started to forget. News moved on. Life returned to normal. Until one night, 8 months later, something moved in the sky. Small object entered the solar system. It wasn't fast, it wasn't big, but it was not from Earth. The object slowed as it passed Mars, then Jupiter, then it stopped near the moon, and then it changed direction. It was coming toward Earth. NASA went silent. Every space agency prepared. Military jets were put on alert. Satellites focused on the unknown visitor. It wasn't a missile. It wasn't a rock. It was a ship. It entered Earth's orbit at low speed. A signal came from it, a gentle pulse, repeating like a song. But the ship didn't answer calls. It didn't speak. It only moved slowly, like it was hurt or tired. Finally, it began to fall. Not like a crash, but like a bird with a broken wing. It landed in the middle of the Thar Desert, India, soft and silent. No explosion, no sound, just dust rising into the air. The world held its breath. Military arrived first, then scientists. The ship was shaped like a crescent moon about the size of a small plane. It had strange glowing lines across its body, like it was made of light and metal together. No one came out. For hours, there was no movement. Then, a small door opened on the side. A figure stepped out. It was tall, thin, and glowing slightly. Not a robot, not human. Its skin looked soft like water and its eyes were deep black. It looked weak, like it had been through something terrible. People raised their weapons, but it didn't attack. It didn't even speak. It looked around, as if searching for something. Then it saw a child, one of the desert villagers, watching from far behind the soldiers. The alien slowly raised its hand. Everyone froze. And then, it fell to the ground. Before it passed out, it whispered one word in perfect English. Miracle. They landed in the dark. The sun had not yet risen when the world changed forever. In the heart of the Thar Desert, the air was still. Not a single bird sang, not a single leaf moved. Soldiers stood in a wide circle around the strange alien ship that had fallen from the sky just hours ago. Dr. Mira Khan arrived in a military helicopter. Dust rose as it landed, covering her glasses. She stepped out, her eyes fixed on the glowing, silver shape half buried in the sand. She had seen the signal. She had sent the reply. Now, the sender was here. But no one knew what it wanted, or what it could do. The ship looked broken. Scars across its surface, small parts still sparking. It didn't look like a machine of war. It looked like something trying to stay alive. General Pratap Singh walked beside her, arms crossed, expression tight. We don't know what's inside, but we're ready for anything. Mira shook her head slowly. No. You're ready for war, but what if this is something else? Suddenly a sound came from the ship. A slow, deep hum like a heartbeat growing louder. Soldiers raised their weapons. The door, which had opened earlier, began to shift again. Not like metal, more like skin stretching. The opening widened and soft blue mist poured out. Then they saw it. A second figure stepped out, different from the first. This one was smaller, shaking. Its legs moved slowly like it was struggling with gravity. It fell to one knee. It didn't speak. Instead, it placed a small black cube on the ground. The cube began to glow. Mira moved forward before anyone could. Stop her. Wait, let me see. She stepped through the line of soldiers and approached the cube. The alien didn't stop her. As she reached out, the cube floated into the air. It spun slowly and then projected an image in the sky above them. Everyone looked up. It was a hologram, not of war, not of destruction, but of a planet. A world covered in oceans, forests, and cities made of light. And then, fire, explosions, smoke, the cities burning, the trees falling, and then, silence. The projection stopped. Mira turned to the alien. That was your home? The creature slowly nodded. It didn't speak English, but it understood. Another sound came, a weak voice from behind. Everyone turned. The first alien, the one who had whispered miracle, was awake. It tried to stand. Mira ran to it and helped it sit up. The alien placed its hand on her chest right over her heart. It closed its eyes and said in a soft voice almost too faint to hear, "You are different. You feel hope." General Singh looked at Mira. "What does that mean?" She didn't answer. She couldn't. Because in that moment the alien touched something in her mind. Images flashed before her eyes. Not memories. Visions. She saw a star exploding. She saw thousands of alien ships fleeing through space. She saw something dark, something massive, with red lights and a voice that screamed without sound. She gasped and pulled back. The alien fell silent. Mira whispered, "They weren't just running. They were being hunted." Before anyone could speak, alarms began to beep on military devices. Another signal. But this one was different. Not from the ship, not from Earth, from space. A new object had entered the solar system, bigger than the first, much bigger. It wasn't responding to calls, it wasn't slowing down, and it was heading toward Earth. General Singh shouted, "What is that?" The alien looked at the sky and spoke just one word. Death. Panic began to spread. Troops moved, orders shouted, equipment packed, but Mira stayed calm. She looked at the weak creature beside her, the one that had fallen from the stars not to fight, but to survive. She knelt beside it and asked, "Why come here? Why Earth?" The alien placed its hand over her heart again. This time, the answer was clear. Because you still care. Before they could ask more, the black cube floated again. It opened, and inside was a small, glowing crystal. The alien handed it to Mira. "Seed," it said. "Our last hope. It only lives where love is strong." The ground shook slightly. The second ship was now visible in the sky, and it was not peaceful. Mira stood up, holding the crystal close. A storm was coming, but Earth might be the only place in the universe still strong enough to fight it. The broken ones. The sky was still burning red at the edges of dawn. The second ship, massive, dark, and silent, hovered beyond Earth's orbit, like a shadow that refused to speak. Below, in the heart of the desert, everything had changed. The Yao, two alien survivors barely alive, were moved to a secret underground facility built into the rocks. No cameras, no media, only silence, science, and steel. Dr. Mira Khan walked through the corridor, holding the glowing crystal the alien had given her. It pulsed slowly in her hands like it had a heartbeat of its own. She didn't know why, but when she held it, she felt calm, and something else, like it was listening. In the medical room, the first alien, thin, pale, trembling, lay on a hospital bed. Machines struggled to read its body. No heartbeat, no blood. But it was alive. Barely. General Singh stood behind the glass, watching. "We still don't know what they are," he said. "Not their biology, not their purpose, but whatever is up there," he pointed to the sky, "is not friendly. We should destroy both ships before it's too late." Mira didn't even look at him. "No," she said. "They didn't come to hurt us. They came because they had no one left." She walked into the room and sat beside the alien. The creature opened its eyes. They were dark, but deep, like oceans with history buried inside. Mira spoke softly. "Why are you dying?" The alien tried to speak but coughed. Its voice was barely a whisper. "We were many. Once. Bright. Pure. Then they came. They broke us." "Who?" she asked. The alien closed its eyes. "We called them the Hollow. They do not create. They only take. They wanted our light." It struggled to breathe. Mira leaned closer. "And this?" She held the crystal. The alien smiled faintly. "Life, memory, soul of our world, last seed of what we were." Mira stood up, thinking fast. "Then we save it, we plant it, we protect it." But where? Far away in a small rural village near the desert, a boy named Arav was playing in the sand near a tree. He was 8 years old. Curious, quiet, full of questions. He had been there the night the ship fell. He had seen the light in the sky, and, ever since, something had changed. He kept hearing a soft voice in his dreams, a song without words. That morning, as he walked near the rocks, something strange happened. A small flower bloomed in the sand. Right where he stepped, blue, glowing. He touched it, and it opened like it knew him. Back at the facility, the second alien woke up in panic. It grabbed Mira's arm with sudden strength. The seed. It hears something. Alarms beeped. The eye crystal glowed brighter. "Where is it?" Mira asked. The alien didn't answer with words. Instead, the crystal floated up and pointed, southeast, toward the village. Mira grabbed her coat. "I need to go. Now." General Singh blocked her. "You're not authorized to take alien tech." She stared him down. "This isn't tech. This is life." She left before he could stop her. When Mira arrived in the village with a small team, she found the boy sitting under a tree. The crystal in her hand was now shining like a star. As she stepped closer, the boy looked up. "Did you bring the light?" Mira stopped. "What do you mean?" He smiled. "It talks in my dreams. It says I'm warm." Mira knelt beside him and placed the crystal in the soil. It sank in slowly. Nothing happened. Then suddenly, the ground shook. A beam of light shot into the sky. Trees nearby bent as if bowing. The flower that bloomed earlier grew again, 10 times bigger. A small tree formed within minutes. It was alive, and it was watching. The boy stepped closer. Leaves reached toward him, not Mira, not the soldiers. Just him. The aliens, still in the facility, opened their eyes at the exact same moment. One of your kind carries the cure. That night, Mira stayed by the tree. The boy sat beside her, smiling, feet swinging. She asked, "Do you feel different?" He nodded. "I feel like I'm supposed to be here." The crystal tree pulsed again. Back at the facility, the first alien stood for the first time, without help. It looked in the direction of the boy, and it wept. But peace never lasts. The second ship in orbit began to move. It wasn't responding to messages. It had locked on to the crystal's signal. Something was coming, something that hated. Light Mira stood under the stars holding the boy's hand, the glowing tree behind them. "We gave them a miracle," she whispered. "Now, can we survive what follows?" The secret inside us. The night sky was full of stars, but one of them was not a star anymore. It was moving. The second ship, huge, silent, and black like a shadow, was now in low orbit above Earth. Every space station, every satellite, every scientist on the planet was watching it, but it wasn't watching back, it was listening. Listening to the tree. The crystal tree, glowing in the desert near a small village, had grown taller overnight. Its leaves hummed. Its roots dug deep into the earth, not just into the soil, but into something older. And standing beneath it, the boy named Arav smiled. He didn't know why the tree liked him. He only knew. He felt different now. He could hear things others couldn't. Whispers in the wind, light in the darkness, memories that weren't his. In the underground facility, chaos had begun. Dr. Mira Khan stared at the results on her screen. The blood sample from Arav was impossible human, but not just human. It had something else, something ancient, something that matched the aliens. This can't be," she whispered. General Singh walked in, his face tense. "What is it?" She looked at him, stunned. This carries genetic markers that aren't human. They match the aliens. "So you're saying he's one of them?" "No," she said slowly. "I'm saying maybe we are." Back at the tree, Arav sat quietly. The wind around him was warm, even though the night was cold. Then he heard it again. A soft voice. From inside the tree. Not in words. In feelings. He saw images in his mind. A world of light, far away. Aliens who could shape nature. Heal with touch. Speak through thought, and then darkness. Ships like black bones in the sky. Creatures with no eyes. Machines that fed on stars. They destroyed everything. The last survivors sent one seed into space. And now, it had grown. Arav looked down at his hands. They glowed faintly. Something inside him had awakened. Meanwhile, the aliens in the facility stood on their own for the first time. No machines. No help. They felt it too. Their bodies were healing. One of them touched the wall and made it bloom with moss and light. The guards stepped back in fear. Dr. Mira rushed in. "What's happening to you?" The older alien turned to her and said, "The child, and he carries the key. His people are the bridge. The miracle lives in his blood. But why him? Why humans?" The alien looked at her with deep sadness in its eyes. "Because once, we gave your world a gift. 10,000 years ago. Before history, before cities, before memory. The aliens came to Earth, not to take, but to plant. They were gardeners of life. They helped early humans evolve, just a little, just enough to survive the cold, the storms, the hunger, but they left something behind, a seed, not a plant, but a spark inside human DNA, waiting, waiting for a time when it would be needed. Again, and now that spark had awakened in Arav. Back at the village, something strange happened. Arav touched the tree and it opened, like a door. Inside was light, pure, warm, alive, and inside that light, a shape floating, a message recorded in thought and memory. It said, "To the world that still feels love, you are our last chance." Suddenly the ground shook. The second ship in orbit had moved, but this time it wasn't silent. A loud sound echoed across the sky, a frequency so low it made birds fall from the air. The alien screamed in pain, even the tree bent, as if in fear. "Doctor," Mira stared at the monitors. "They're trying to kill it, they're trying to kill the seed." The tree cracked. Leaves turned dark. Arav screamed and fell to the ground. His body shined like fire. But he didn't burn. Instead, the light inside him exploded outward. The tree healed in seconds, and where it had cracked, a new branch grew, with glowing fruit. The first alien, watching from the base, fell to its knees. It whispered, "He is the cure." Now humanity had a choice. They could hide, or they could protect the boy, protect the tree, protect the miracle they didn't know they had inside them all along. Dr. Mira made her decision. She turned to the soldiers and said, "We're moving the boy now." "Where?" Singh asked. "Somewhere no one can find him," she replied. "Not yet." She looked at the sky. "Not until we're ready to fight." But deep in space, the Hollow had already started their descent, and they were not afraid. They had killed planets. They had eaten stars. They had crushed galaxies. But they had never faced hope. Not like this. Not from a child, not from Earth, not from humans. They came expecting weakness, but what they would find was a miracle in human form. Voices from the past, the Hollow, were coming, and Earth had only days. But sometimes the only way to move forward is to look back. Dr. Mira Khan stared at the boy, Arav, sleeping peacefully beneath the crystal tree. The tree had grown stronger. Overnight, its roots had begun spreading under the village, turning dry desert sand into glowing blue soil. But Mira wasn't smiling. She was afraid, not of the boy, not of the tree, but of a question that kept repeating in her mind. Why Earth? Why, out of all planets in the galaxy, was Earth the one place where the seed could grow? Why did a human child carry the key to an alien cure? And why had the Hollow come straight here, like they already knew what Earth was? 2 days later, an answer came, but not from the sky, from the ground. A team of researchers in Rajasthan, digging deep into a cave system once used by ancient tribes, had sent Mira a single photo. She dropped her coffee when she saw it. A cave wall, carved with alien figures, one of them holding the exact same crystal, and beside it, something even stranger, a human, not a primitive one, but one that looked like her, modern, a doctor's coat, glasses, holding hands with the alien. The carving was over 10,000 years old. It was impossible, but it was real. The next day, Mira, General Singh, and Arav, now fully healthy and glowing from within, traveled to the site. They entered the cave with torches, stepping slowly into the silence of the past. On the walls, carvings told a story, a star falling from the sky. Strange, visitors teaching humans to heal, grow, and dream. And then, fire, death, the sky turning black. But one visitor stayed behind. They gave a gift to the humans, not a weapon, not knowledge, but memory. And then, they vanished. "These are not just stories," Mira whispered. "They're history." Arav touched one of the walls. It lit up, not from the torch, from within. The wall began to shift. Rocks moved, dust fell, and behind it, a hidden chamber opened. Inside, there was no gold, no bones, just a single machine, floating, still active, The machine was ancient, but alive. Its surface was covered in light patterns, pulsing softly. At the center was a round slot, just the right size for the crystal fruit growing from the tree. "It's a key," Mira said. "This is why they came." "Or maybe," Singh said quietly, "this is why they never left." They placed the fruit inside the slot. The room filled with sound, a low hum like a heartbeat echoing through the walls of the world. A projection filled the air, a galaxy, stars moving, planets spinning, and then a path, a long glowing thread connecting one distant planet to Earth. "They've been here before," Mira whispered. "The aliens didn't just visit Earth by chance. They were part of its story, part of its beginning." Then, the projection changed. It showed something darker, a race of shadows, ships shaped like bones, stars going dark, the hollow. But something was different now. The projection zoomed in on Earth. This time, it wasn't showing destruction. It was showing resistance. A circle of humans standing in front of the tree, a child holding out his hand. The hollow stopping, pausing for the first time, Mira felt her chest tighten. "This isn't just history," she said. "It's a message." "No," Arav said softly. "It's a prophecy." Back on the surface, the tree had changed again. A second tree had grown beside the first, smaller, thinner, but glowing red. Mira rushed toward it. The older alien, who had followed them to the village, touched the bark and gasped, "The second seed? It is not ours." Everyone turned. "Then whose is it?" Singh asked. The alien looked at the sky. "It belongs to them." The hollow had sent something to Earth too. A seed of death. To destroy the one growing here. To poison the ground, the air, the minds of those who would resist. It was already starting. Birds stopped singing. The tree's glow dimmed. Arav collapsed, coughing, weak again. The war wasn't in space anymore. It had already begun on Earth. A silent war, between life and rot, between memory and forgetting, between miracle and hollow. Mira stood at the edge of the glowing soil, staring into the rising sun. She had no army, no fleet, just a child with a glowing heart, a tree from another world, a memory that refused to die, and a choice: protect the past or fight for the future. She turned to Singh. "We need to awaken the machine fully." "How?" he asked. She pointed to the cave. "By giving it more memory." "From where?" She looked at the village, at the people, at the stories in the soil. "From us." Because the only thing stronger than the darkness was the light we choose to remember. The ones who watch in the blackness above Earth. The hollow ship opened its eyes. They were not literal eyes, but they saw everything. Every human broadcast, every signal, every heartbeat from the crystal tree in the desert. And most importantly, they saw the boy, Arav, the carrier of the light, the seed that should not exist. To the hollow, this was not a planet. It was a mistake, and mistakes must be erased. The world still did not know what was coming. News channels called it a mysterious satellite. Governments kept secrets behind smiles. But in underground bunkers, war rooms, and hidden labs, Earth was preparing. Dr. Mira Khan stood in the cave chamber where the ancient machine had awakened. The machine now pulsed brighter than ever, connected to the crystal fruit and running scans across the planet. It was showing a map, not of cities or roads, but of memories. Places on Earth where the light still lived. Old temples, forgotten ruins, buried machines. And in each one, a symbol, the same mark carved into the alien ship. A spiral of light. "This planet," Mira said, staring at the hologram, "isn't just where the seed grew. Earth was the garden." General Singh leaned closer. "You mean, this was all Planted? She nodded slowly. They didn't choose Earth randomly. They chose Earth because something about us was already special. Maybe we didn't even notice, but they did. And now the Hollow want to burn it down. Far away in orbit, the Hollow ship opened. A second vessel emerged, sleeker, sharper, burning with dark red energy. It wasn't a scout. It was a weapon. And it was coming. Straight for the desert. Back on the surface, the villagers were being evacuated, but Arav refused to leave. He sat by the tree, eyes closed, breathing slowly. The tree spoke to him, not in words, but in emotions, fear, hope, memory. It was trying to show him something, a final vision, a place beyond the stars, where the light had once lived. A council of watchers, beings of peace, the ones who had sent the first seed. They had promised not to interfere with younger species, but they had made one exception: Earth, a world of chaos. And love, a world that destroyed and created in equal measure, a world that refused to give up. The tree's light pulsed, once, then again. And suddenly, they came, not in ships, not in fire, but in light. Spirits made of memory, projections from the past, the ones who watched. They stood around the tree, tall, glowing, quiet. And then they bowed to Arav. Mira watched in disbelief. What are they doing? The alien elder, standing beside her, whispered, "They are asking for his permission." For what? The alien looked up at the sky. To break their own rules. Because what was coming had never been stopped. The Hollow were destroyers of civilizations, but Earth was different. It had survived ice, war, plague, and itself. It had survived by evolving emotions. Pain, hope, grief, love. No other world had fought that way. No other species had turned suffering into strength. That was Earth's weapon. And now, it was Arav's. The second Hollow ship entered the atmosphere. Its sides unfolded, revealing black machines with red veins crawling like insects. They didn't shoot lasers. They didn't drop bombs. They released silence, a field of soundlessness, killing communication, feeling, memory, everywhere. It passed, the color drained from the world. Even soldiers forgot why they were holding their guns, but then the tree sang, a single tone, a low, beautiful hum, and Arav stood, his hands glowing. He walked forward, past the soldiers, past Mira, toward the ship landing in fire. He was not afraid, because the Hollow had only seen war. They had never seen forgiveness. Never seen a child stand alone, and when they tried to erase him, he spoke, "You don't belong here, not because you are evil, but because you have forgotten who you were." He raised his hand. The machine from the cave responded. So did the tree, and then, so did every memory point across Earth. Temples lit up, ruins glowed, mountains hummed, oceans shimmered, and in that moment, Earth remembered, not its buildings, not its weapons, but its stories. People who died protecting strangers, children who forgave, parents who sacrificed, artists who dreamed, and one alien race who had once believed in them. That memory was a weapon, and the Hollow, for the first time in all their existence, hesitated. Inside their own ship, something broke, a code, a structure, a belief. They saw Arav, and through him, they saw themselves, before they became Hollow, before the hunger, before the silence. The ship did not fire. It shook, it cracked, it stopped, and then it left. The watchers faded, the light dimmed, but Earth remained, still flawed, still chaotic, still human, and that made all the difference. Arav collapsed into Mira's arms. He was breathing, smiling, and whispering. They were watching us, but now they remember. She hugged him close, and for the first time in days she cried, not from fear, but from the miracle that humanity still was. And somewhere in the deep void, a signal went out, from Earth, to the stars, to anyone still listening. We are still here. The miracle we became. The skies above Earth had never been so quiet. The hollow ship was gone. No battle. No fire. No ending explosion. It had simply stopped and left. But something had changed. Not just in the stars, in the people, in the soil, in the soul of the planet, and it all started with a child. Arav sat beneath the crystal tree, now towering and beautiful, its blue leaves shining softly in the night. He didn't speak much. He didn't need to. Something inside him had been unlocked. Not just power, not just light, memory. Memories that weren't his. From a race that had died long ago. From planets that no longer existed. From people who had once called him seed-bearer. Dr. Mira Khan stood at the edge of the village, watching the horizon. The world was waking up, not from sleep, but from ignorance. For centuries, humans had looked up at the stars and asked, "Is anyone out there?" Now they knew, and the answer wasn't just yes. The answer was, they came here because of us. Governments tried to explain it all. Some called it a global anomaly. Others said it was a shared hallucination. But the people knew. Something real had happened. Across the world, ancient ruins began to light up. People with no history of illness were suddenly healed. Dreams became clearer, and children everywhere started drawing the same tree. They hadn't seen it on the news. They couldn't have, and yet they knew. But peace never lasts forever. 3 days after the hollow left, a small object was found in orbit, drifting, damaged, an escape pod. Mira and Singh were called to the scene. Inside, they found something unexpected, a hollow, but not like before. This one was dying, weak, lost, afraid. It didn't attack. It didn't speak. It just held something in its hand, a piece of the tree. "What do we do with it?" Singh asked. Mira stared at the creature. "We help it," she said. "Even after everything they did?" She turned to him, tired but firm. They weren't always monsters. Something hollowed them out. But we remember what it's like to care. The hollow was taken to the facility. The elder alien, now fully healed and walking freely, entered the room. He looked at his former enemy. There was no anger, only sorrow. And then, without a word, he placed his hand over the hollow's chest. The light from his fingers flowed into the creature. Its body shook, eyes widened, and then tears. Not water, but light, falling like diamonds onto the floor. It spoke one word. "Why?" The elder answered gently. "Because we still feel." In the days that followed, the earth changed again. The tree bore more fruit. Each one was different. Some healed, some glowed, some sang, but one opened a doorway. Not a literal one, a memory door. When people touched it, they saw who they could have been, who they still could be. Arav became quiet again. He said he could feel something growing inside the planet. Not a threat, but an awakening. System of light, buried deep underground, older than any country. The ancient ones had left something behind. A machine made of roots, thought, and code, waiting for someone kind enough to turn it back on. Arav did. The day it activated, the Earth shimmered for 1 second. Satellites failed, clocks reset, and then balance. The weather stabilized, storms weakened, the oceans calmed. It was not control, it was harmony. Earth had been healed, not by war, not by technology, but by one small decision: to help, when it was easier to destroy. Mira stood at the tree, writing in her journal. Not a scientific paper, not a report. Just one sentence. They came for help. But we gave them something more. She looked up at the stars. We gave them what we forgot we had. A year later, the stars whispered again. A new signal, not a cry for help. A question, not in words, in emotion, hope, and the people of Earth answered. Together, they sent a message, not from governments, but from children, artists, dreamers. It said, "We remember who we are now. Do you?" And far, far away on a ship shaped like light, the watchers smiled. They had watched Earth struggle, fail, rise, and finally, choose to love. And that was the real miracle. Not the tree, not the boy, not the power, but the choice. The choice to feel, the choice to forgive, the choice to remember. Because in the end, they came for help. But humanity gave them a miracle, and in doing so, became one. The end.